Okay, drafting students, this is a how-to for plate 5-1. How-to for plate 5-1, and I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself, but hopefully the video quality is okay so that you can see what we're doing. I want to get you started with drafting. Okay, so we're going to start out by talking about the tools that you've got to use for this. Of course, you got your drawing board, your drafting board. We got our T-square. I have some pre-cut out pieces of masking tape, but you should have a roll of masking tape. I'm using the 45-45-90 triangle. I've got a 2H pencil, that's a soft lead, and it's sharpened. And I have a 6H pencil. I have an eraser and a drafting shield. And then I have plate 5-1. Not sure how well you can see that, but that's plate 5-1. I'm going to move my camera closer in a little bit, but I wanted to show you just about getting set up here to begin with. Okay, so I'll move those drawing tools off to the side to begin with, and let's get my microphone over here a little bit better. So, and I have this set up so that you can see the lower left-hand corner of my drawing board. And you know, you'll get used to this on making decisions about where to put your paper down, but of course your paper can go in a variety of spots. You don't want it to be too close to the edge here. Obviously you want to stay away from the far right hand side, so you want it in a comfortable spot there on where it's going to be. To position the paper for a drawing like this, because it already has lines on it. So I'm going to put my T-square down and making sure that it's against the edge right there. I'll locate my paper in a comfortable spot, and then I want to look to see that the line on the paper for the border right there is lined up with the edge of the T-square. And you want that to be as close as you can so that your horizontal lines will be parallel with that drawing. So the edge of the T-square, okay, so we're talking about the edge of the T-square is lined up with the border. And you know, I could have lined things up with that horizontal line up there if I wanted to. I could have lined it up with that. I just want to make sure my paper, the lines on the paper, since it already has lines, that is lined up with my T-square. Okay, so once I have that in the right position, I'm going to use my my drafting tape, and if you have a roll of masking tape, you're going to do that. And I'm going to flatten that paper down nice and close, and I'm going to put my pieces of tape in the corners, being careful to not move the paper but flatten it down so it's nice and flat on the drafting board. Okay, we want that paper to not have any wrinkles in it. So we get that tape put down. I also took a little time to clean up my drafting board to get those smudges off of there, get it all cleaned up. Okay, so now my T-square is all set. Now, if you have a pad, and I know students at home don't have this, but students that are here, if you want to put down some of the dry clean pad on there, that, like I said that before, that makes it easier to have your T-square roll across there, and it kind of keeps that paper nice and clean. Okay, so that's what we've got so far. We've got ourselves taped down. Okay, now I'm going to move a little bit closer with my camera so that you can see what I'm working on, but that's there to show you how to get set up with your piece of paper. Okay, notice I'm not too close to the edge over here. I'm not too close to the bottom. That's going to be a comfortable spot. Of course, if I was left-handed, then this would be all done over further on the other side of the board, and the T-square would be located on that side, right, if I was left-handed. But I'm right-handed, so I want to have the head of the T-square on the left-hand side, and that's in a comfortable spot for me to draft. Okay, so I move my camera closer, and I'm going to reposition a little bit here so that you can see. Actually, I want that to be squared up to me. I gotta change my camera a little bit so that you can see that. Okay, that's pretty good. I know that it might be a little difficult for you to see, but that's the best I can do for right now. Okay, so now I'm going in with my 6H pencil. Okay, I've got it nice and sharp. I sharpened it up, and I'm going to start up here at the top where I am supposed to draw object lines. So I'll be drawing object lines here. My hidden lines are going to go into this box. My construction lines go here. My dimension lines here. We sketched this out, so you should be pretty familiar with this. Okay, and to do this, I'm going to start with my 6H pencil. Now here's a hint here. I'm going to take the pencil and I'll put the point of the pencil on one of those little hash marks. Okay, I know that that's the mark that I need. So if we were to take measurements or we were to be laying this out, we would put a tiny little mark there for where exactly we want our pencil to be. So I'm going to set my pencil point down on that, and then I'm going to gently move my T-square up until it touches the pencil. That way I know that I can draw with that angle. Now don't go moving your pencil all around, because that'll change it. So you want to keep that angle in a comfortable angle for how you're going to draw. So I put my pencil point down, I move my T-square up till it just touches that, and then what I'm going to do is get my pencil in the starting spot, and I'm going to draw that first line. Now as you draw, rotate your pencil in between your fingers, because what that will do is it'll self-sharpen the lead. As you rotate it, it'll draw the lead off of the graphite off of that pencil, and it will keep it much sharper. If you keep it in one spot, you'll develop a flat spot on the pencil. So I'm going to rotate that as I go. Then I'll move over here. It's a little bit harder to rotate when you're doing these hidden lines. Remember, you're trying to match what you've got there. These hidden lines are thin and dark, and then this last one is for construction lines. For these construction lines or guidelines, we're going to put down a very light line, so I'm not pressing very hard at all. Okay? Now, for the object lines, since these are object lines, I'm going to come back with my 2H pencil. Okay? And for my object lines, these are lines I want to be nice and thick and dark. So I'm going to go over those a couple times, being careful not to go too far, and rotating that pencil. I want that to be nice, dark, thick lines. So when I'm done, and you can see this in the video, is that this is a nice dark line, and you can sort of barely see your construction line over there. Okay, your hidden lines should be thin and dark. If you need to darken those up with the 2H, you can do that, but you want to try to get those done with your 6H pencil. That'll save some time. Okay, so now what we're going to do is just work our way down the page, drawing those lines. I'm going to get my pencil in the right spot, draw that across there with the 6H, draw these hidden lines, paying attention to those dashes. So keep your eye, those dashes are pretty small, so you want to try to match up with that and keep those dashes the same way. Of course, that construction line at the end is nice and thin, and before I move that, I'm going to come back with my 2H, maybe change the angle slightly as I'm rotating that around, and put a nice dark line in. Okay, come down to the next one, ready to go again. Keep that angle the same. Keep your eyes on those dashes. Remember, you're trying to make those hidden lines exactly the way they are in the example. And your construction line is nice and light. Different pencil to do that object line. Okay, so we're working our way down the page on all those. We got several lines. Okay, next up, when you get down into this next panel, you've got dimension lines. Remember, dimension lines are going to be thin, but they have those tiny little arrows at the end. Make your arrows look like those arrows. Don't put in big, fat, wide arrows, okay? Make your arrows nice and thin and dark the way those are, and you can leave that gap in the middle. It's okay, so pay attention to those. Center lines the same way. Those are thin and dark. You should have a real sharp 6H pencil to do those center lines well. Your border lines are going to be the thickest, darkest lines that you have. So I'm gonna do a row here and show you how to do those border lines. Okay, so this is going to be a thick, dark line, or a thin, dark line. So I'm going to come halfway, draw the rest of that, make my dash here. Remember to roll your pencil. Keep your pencil sharp. Those of you at home, hopefully you have a pencil sharpener, okay? So for this, here's where we're going to have that 2H or even an HB if you wanted to use an HB. And here what we want to do is actually change the angle of your pencil a little bit so that you get a little bit thicker of a line. You want that to be even thicker than your object lines. So we'll take that. I need to make that even a little bit thicker. So if you change the angle, you can actually make your line right thicker. We're laying down some good graphite on that. That should be super dark. So you can see how that border line is even darker than the object line. Okay, I could even make that even a little bit even darker. You want it to be similar to these border lines because those are border lines. Okay, when it comes down here to your section lines, okay, here's where you're going to be using your triangle, and this is a little bit tough. You gotta, make sure you're looking carefully at how to do this. Okay, but for our section line, we want to keep that spacing going the same, and these section lines are thin, very thin, dark lines. So work on getting that spacing the same way and the same angle. And just work your way across the page on that. Okay, so we'll draw those section lines. Phantom lines are thin and dark. Okay, last part of this is coming to your title block. To do your title block, if you have a template to draw your guidelines, you can do that. Otherwise, you can just eyeball them. But we're going to put a very light construction line there, and then I'm going to move up a little bit for my guideline coming across. That should be very light, so I have 2 lines there, and then I'll come in with my B or my 2H pencil. And a nice thing to do when you're doing this is to rest your hand on top of the T-square. That'll prevent you from smudging your lines. But what I'll do here is begin to letter out right on my name. We don't have to letter in the name of the drawing because it's listed right there, alphabet of lines, but we do need to letter in the date. Okay, so here's where you're going to put in nice dark letters. Make sure you're using the full height and you're practicing those single stroke Gothic letters. Letter that in nice, neat. So your name and then obviously the date. And there's different ways that you want to do the date. If you just want to do the numbers, you can do it that way. Today is the 29th, but obviously it might be a different day for you. But letter those in nice and neat. Okay. I realize it's not easy to see all that on the resolution of the video, so try to get better with that as we go on. Okay, good luck on that.